Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Gregg Sussman, joined today by Tom Vecchio of FanDuel, who's here to give us top value plays on the board for week number 7. What's going on, Tom?
I'm doing good, coming down to the wire for the last few days, getting his injury reports. So let's hop in.
Let's get right in there, and let's begin with the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Tennessee Titans this week. Titans going through the gauntlet right now. And the Steelers wide receiver that most people have been talking about, of course, is Chase Claypool. And Deontay Johnson expected to return this week. And Juju Smith-Schuster, well, he's still around. And yet, you don't like any of those wide receivers as a value play. It's James Washington you're turning to at $5,100. I named 3 other wide receivers on Pittsburgh before James Washington. Why is that the one you like?
Yeah, the Steelers certainly have a lot going on when it comes to their receiving core. Deontay Johnson can't stay healthy. I know that. He's on my season-long team. Juju has been underperforming. He's actually been a wide receiver 3 or worse in 13 of his last 17 games and 4 of the 5 games this season. His production is buoyed by the multiple touchdowns that he has. Chase Claypool, I want to say, is their number 1 wide receiver. That might be a bit of a hot take, but James Washington is sitting here at $5,100. Played on 66% of the snaps last week, which was the second highest among wide receivers. He led the team last week with 7 targets. He has the second most targets on the team at 28, sitting behind Juju, who only has 30. They're up against the Titans, who are allowing 36 FanDuel points per game to opposing wide receivers. They have an implied team total sitting at 27. So everyone's worried about Deontay Johnson coming back. Everyone wants to go to Chase Claypool. They're still looking to roster Juju. And I'm looking at the player who actually has been the most consistent behind Chase Claypool, kind of. So I'm taking the savings. I'm taking this game for kind of a shootout, and I'm taking the savings with Washington.
Hoping that James Washington plays that amount of snaps again with Deontay Johnson expected to return to the lineup. That's what we're hoping for here. James Washington and the Steelers' high-flying offense should be in store for a good day, so we hope, against Tennessee. The team that the Steelers beat down last week was the Cleveland Browns, and this week you're going to a Cleveland Browns, specifically Austin Hooper. Over on FanDuel, Austin Hooper priced at $5,400. Tight end position has been a little bit tough to fill this year, as it is in most years. Why does Austin Hooper make sense this week for the Browns?
Yeah, Hooper checks a few boxes for me this week. I like this matchup against the Bengals. They're allowing 13.4 FanDuel points per game to opposing tight ends. That's the 6th most in the league. I think this spot could be in this game against the Bengals is a spot for a bit of a sneaky shootout. We saw the Bengals kind of, turn on the offense last week, and then they kind of fell apart because their defense is so bad against the Colts. We know that the Browns kind of got beat down. Their defense isn't amazing. And Hooper really is a consistent role in the Browns offense. He just hasn't had that ceiling game. He has the 3rd most targets on the team, the 3rd most red zone targets, the 3rd most receptions. He's behind Landry and Beckham in all these categories, but we just saw this morning that Landry is dealing with a cracked rib. So if there's some inconsistency in their passing game, Hooper is that guy to step up.
Looking for consistency, Baker Mayfield is going to look wherever he can. Hopefully this week, that is Austin Hooper. Jarvis Landry battling this rib injury. Baker Mayfield battling his own injuries as well. He's going to have to potentially check it down. Maybe Austin Hooper will be that guy. As Tom said, checks a lot of boxes, and hopefully the right boxes checked here on Sunday. We've hit a wide receiver. We've hit a tight end. Now let's give you a running back that's worth discussing here as a good value play, and that brings us to James White, affordably priced for the New England Patriots this week. James White and Cam Newton, this is the Patriots offense trying to get back in rhythm after stumbling last week against Denver, really still seeing the effects and not practicing during their COVID scare. Why is James White on your radar as a value play this week?
So last week was, I want to say, just a weird game for the Patriots. They didn't have it together. Their offense was kind of a mess overall, but we still saw White lead the Patriots running backs with a 54% snap share. He had 12 total touches, which was the highest among all running backs. We know that Harris doesn't play a role in the passing game. Burkhead had 0 targets last week, and his role in the passing game is inconsistent at best. We see White coming in with 19 total targets on the season. That's the 4th highest on the Patriots, and he missed the game. So we're looking at a running back that has the potential to play a role in the rushing and passing game, most importantly. We have a 2.5 or 3-point spread in this game, so it should stay close, which I think should kind of squeeze Harris out of the rotation of running backs just because they're not going to be in too much of a running situation. And I like the consistency that we saw with White and Newton when they were both healthy. So another game back, another game under their belts. Looking at this price tag, I'm saying I'm taking the receiving upside that James White has this week.
James White, the receiving running back for the New England Patriots for a long time now, should have that upside that makes him worth getting into your lineups here. Cam Newton to James White, as he continues to just look for targets. He doesn't have any downfield, so checking it down and using guys like Julian Edelman and certainly like James White makes sense for this Patriots offense that, as we said, hopes to get back on track. That's going to do it for us here on FanDuel Hurry Up Time. You gave us the studs. You gave us the values. I'm ready for Sunday.
Absolutely. Me too.
If you're looking for more DFS insight, well, we got that for you. Tomorrow, Jim Sonis will join me as we talk about the best DFS stacks for Week 7 as we wrap up our coverage and get into the weekend. For Tom Vecchio, I am Gregg Sussman. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow once again for another edition of the FanDuel Hurry Up.